Welcome to another episode of What's New in Beauty. My name is Nia Lee, and I'm super excited to have you guys here. As you can see, your girl is on a roll, essentially, with these podcast episodes. And it's because I've been away for such a minute, and so I really wanted to give you guys just, my 2 cents, of course, what's happening in this awesome beauty world, and just some really, of course, exciting things. And I just honestly want to jump right into it because you guys know how I am. I don't like to dilly-dally too much. So in today's episode, and I've said this before, I've talked about them before. I'm not the biggest fan of the Kardashians. I'm just going to hold y'all. But I can respect the hustle, and I can obviously respect everything that they've been able to do in this industry of media and beauty and just everything in relation to them allowing themselves to take a situation that happened and explode it into being multimillionaires. And you can't hate on that. I mean, quote unquote, it's the American dream that everyone's, of course, talking about. And this is all talking about Kim Kardashian, who is actually set to relaunch KKW Beauty early next year without the W and Kanye West's influence to mark her independence. And I'm reading this direct quote from the US Sun. And this is actually really interesting just right off the bat because, as somebody who has never been, again, the biggest fan of just even the Kardashian beauty line, to be quite honest, I never ever felt like the brand itself was ever marketed to me, but I know obviously, the girls and guys love it. But to know that she's actually set to relaunch the brand and is kind of looking to mark her independence now, as her and Kanye are going through, a divorce and however that will come together, drama, celebrity stuff. But it says here that the beauty billionaire is removing West from her company's title as she relaunches her entire cosmetics line following her high-profile divorce from the rapper, aka Kanye West. And it also says here that a source close to the Skims designer told The Sun that Kim, who is 41, I don't know why they have her age here, but who knows, she looks great for 40. Just want to put that out there as well, too. Again, will relaunch her beauty brand early next year with a sleeker, sexier, and more elegant packaging, which I can kind of see happening because, again, from a beauty perspective, KKW Beauty always, to me, kind of felt like an elevated drugstore brand. And I know that kind of comes off, that might come off like I'm hating a little bit, but I always felt like that's kind of the vibe. I never got a very luxe feel from the brand. Even when influencers would get it in PR or when they would even review it, I would always kind of feel it's aight, you know what I mean? But it's giving something you could kind of get at a drugstore or things that have already been done, but just kind of basic, you know what I mean? And I guess that's the brand itself. But to know that she's coming out with more of a sleeker, sexier, and more elegant packaging look with the whole brand, I can definitely see that come together. Again, I'll say this, when it comes to the Kardashians and what it is that they do, they will always find a way to create something that is authentically them. So anything that they put out is not going to give a vibe of, ooh, this looks like it's tired. Oh, it looks like they're trying a little bit. It definitely always looks like it's going to be something. But again, this reboot of, her getting rid of the W and this obviously being a big thing, I think the KK vibe, I can see if it's going to be that, I can totally see it, kind of standing out for sure. I can kind of even see the logo in my head a little bit, but more so than anything, this is really Kim stepping into marking her independence, and a source close to her has said she is grateful for everything he's done for her, but she wants to make it clear she can do this without him, in which I'm also kind of shocked how much of an influence Kanye apparently had with the whole KKW Beauty, brand itself. And it also says here that the informant continued that Kanye was very involved with the planning process of KKW. His input highly influenced what ended up being KKW Beauty. And I'm actually quite shocked to know about this, but at the same time, if you kind of are a little bit aware of Kim and Kanye, people will kind of say and speculate that he obviously had a really big influence in her kind of getting into the high fashion world. She has made also comments that, Kanye has taught her how to dress and certain things like that. So to me, it's interesting to know how involved he was in the actual kind of, brand itself. And it also says here that Kanye has a large stake in not only KKW, but also Kim's shapewear brand, Skims, which, again, the girls and guys love Skims. I personally was like 2 seconds away from actually getting Skims, but then I made the decision. I was like, I'm not going to put more money in their pocket, but love it. Love, everyone being super excited about it. But, I thought that was actually quite interesting to know as well how much of a, integral partnership this seemed to have been. And again, just right off the bat, Skims again is that other, very minimal, very basic, very minimal basic brand that really rings true to the Kardashian, or I'll just say this, more so Kim's aesthetic, more so than anything. Very monochromatic, kind of sort of basic, but simple and, kind of a staple kind of thing. I guess that's just, again, kind of her vibe. But again, they talk about the new brand focusing on being more high-end, but still appealing to a wider audience. So that's also really interesting as well, too. I think sometimes where some brands kind of miss the mark is, they kind of make their brand seem like it's not accessible to everybody. And I know sometimes, a lot of brands kind of are like, we don't want to be accessible to everybody because that's not kind of the vibe we're looking for. But, for Kim, I'll even chalk this up to even the Kylie situation, right? As much as Kylie Jenner is Kylie Jenner and she's got Kylie Beauty, even though things have not been looking too smooth over there, it's a brand that's sold in Ulta, right? And look how many people shop at Ulta, like millions of people. So even if you were someone who was possibly intrigued with Kylie Beauty or, Kylie Cosmetics or whatever the name of the brand is, regardless if you were curious or not, it's not completely far-fetched for you to go ahead and try it. And so I think Kim deciding that the brand wants to be more sleek, more high-end, but still wider audience, to me is giving a vibe and an energy that she definitely wants to be in a drugstore, preferably Ulta, preferably Target. I don't really see a Sephora thing coming like her way, but who knows? I don't know. Like I said, I've talked about this before, how much Sephora is really leaning into the influencer beauty brands. And let's just chalk it up to like celebrity beauty brands as well too. But to me, just right off the bat, I get a sense that she definitely wants to be accessible to people in the drugstore because of course Kylie Cosmetics was in Ulta and that was a really big, push for them as a brand. It got a lot of people interested in the brand as well too. And again, another source or another quote from Kim talks specifically about her wanting it to be not incredibly expensive, but to look expensive, more cleaner brand, more eco-friendly. And it says as well, like the source from the Kardashian camp says that she has worked hard on this for a long time now and wants this to be a sign of her being an independent and successful businesswoman. In which, again, I don't know if like how this article came to be, but like the word independent woman is getting brought up a lot to me. So it's like, it's always an interesting thing just right out the bat to kind of see, how these articles are kind of put together and how this looks like, particularly to Kim. But I will say this, regardless, of how many times the word independent is in this article, it is clear that Miss Kardashian here is looking to really just, again, make a name for herself prior to her being in a relationship. Because I think even prior to her being with Kanye, like Kim was obviously a really, really big deal. But I will say in the beauty department, definitely Kylie, took that lane. She had it. It was her lane, and we even saw Kim trying to bring up KKW Beauty, and we could see people still not fully care about KKW Beauty the same way they cared about Kylie Cosmetics because, again, like I said, Kylie really had a chokehold on the beauty community at one point. Like, I want to say around like maybe 2010, maybe 2011, maybe even a little bit faster, more like in the future than that, because I think the brand actually came out in 2015. Let me just double check here so I exactly know, because I know the brand got bought out by Coty and all that fun stuff as well. Let me just see here. Created. Okay, let's see. When did Kylie Cosmetics start? So the brand actually started in... Okay, so she got the lip fillers backlash in 2015, and it says here that she used the bad press to launch her brand 6 months later. So, okay, so she launched the brand in 2015. My bad, I'm kind of I'm kind of taking it back. It's been crazy because, old girl has been around forever doing her beauty thing. So to know that she started in 2015, to know where she's been able to take it now is kind of insane. And again, the chokehold that she had on the beauty community with those matte lips, with the eyeshadows, with the rollouts, like everybody was into it. And I spoke about Kylie Cosmetics coming back kind of in the scene, with the relaunch after being bought out by Coty, and how much it didn't really sit too well with people. Like, people are still feeling like she's still trying to grasp for straws a little bit. So who knows? Maybe this is Kim's opportunity now to really make, again, a name for herself in this beauty space now that Kylie is kind of out of the picture and obviously dealing with other things, being a new mom, starting the swimwear line. I think this is now an opportunity for Kim to go ahead and relaunch this brand. And it actually was announced that Kim will actually relaunch her brand again with a possible new name in the works. And the actual trademark that she put out that she actually filed for was Skin. So it's SKKN. And it was actually previously owned by a small New York City business who served the reality star with a cease and desist letter. I think that's supposed to say letter, not later. But either way, I think this is a really great move for Kim, and it's really excited to kind of see where she goes with this. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I don't have like all the biggest hopes in the world. I think it's still going to be very reminiscent to the KKW Beauty brand and possibly even be very similar to Skims. But I mean, even the name itself feels very similar to Skims in a little bit of a way. You know what I mean? Like, she's definitely doing something here with like the S and the K and the N's and the M's. Like, she's definitely, in a lane here. But again, this is an opportunity for her to move forward. And, just to kind of see how everything kind of came together is just very, very interesting. And so this rebrand has definitely been in the works. Kanye actually helped Kim come up with, of course, the new name, the packaging. So again, it seems that, no matter what, he seems to always kind of be involved with whatever it is that she's doing. And of course, the guy was her husband for years, the father of her children, and obviously such an impact, what it is that she's been able to do. So I don't know. I'm excited to kind of see, of course, the rollout. I'm always a marketing rollout queen. Because I just love to see it. I love to see how, again, these celebrities make the decision to kind of roll things out. And, we've been able to see, obviously, everything kind of unfold in front of our eyes with the whole divorce and, KKW Beauty kind of going in a different way. And, the lawsuits that have gone back and forth about KKW Beauty and Kylie Cosmetics. So to me, I'm just kind of more interested to kind of see where it all goes. And is this something that she is kind of holding as her own, or does it still have kind of an air or even just a kind of vibe that's very similar to Kanye? And if you guys know, of course, Kanye is very neutral. I wouldn't really say pastel, but his whole vibe is definitely sleek, but also basic, but also very expensive as well too. So I don't know. I think Kim is probably trying to make a lot of people in her camp happy. And again, this word of independence is really big. And I think the thing as well that also kind of intrigues me as someone who's definitely looking on the outside in is, is this brand going to be kind of like Kim's way of getting back into the good graces of her kind of being this like overall sex symbol, overall like person that everybody wants to be? Because at one point, again, before Kylie kind of came through and just kind of had a chokehold on the beauty community, Kim was that for so many people. She was everybody's body goals. Everybody started doing the contouring like her. I mean, there's definitely videos on YouTube of people trying to do the same contouring techniques. And I'll even chalk it up to this as well, too. There are a lot of girls on the internet right now that aspire to look like Kim Kardashian. I mean, like, there's definitely been news reports as well, too, of people wanting to get surgery to look like Kim Kardashian for years. So to me, this may even be her opportunity to go in and now kind of, again, be that sex symbol, that beauty symbol where everybody is looking to Kim for the blueprint. You know what I mean? And I think that's also something to be said as well, too. When you're 40 and you're really just kind of coming back into yourself because you've been in a relationship, you've been married, you got kids, everybody's obviously looking for you to kind of, settle down, not be too loud, you know what I mean? But I definitely think there's an opportunity for her to have an awakening here for sure. And I'm kind of interested to see how it all plays out, of course, on the Keeping Up with the Kardashian show. I'm also interested to see how it plays into just so many other things as well. Even though I'm not really too up on the show, I have no doubt in my mind they're going to find a way to kind of spin this and, make it different and all that good stuff as well, too. But another thing I definitely wanted to touch on, anybody who's listening to this as well, too, who has a beauty brand and maybe is looking to rebrand or reboot or really try to do something different with your brand. I think one of the most important things that I'm even just getting from this article is how important it is to kind of put the feelers out there to see if anybody really cares. And I know that's like it's a weird way of kind of saying it. And it's almost kind of one of those things like, of course, like everybody's going to care. It's Kim Kardashian, like, X, Y, and Z. But I think if you have a beauty brand and you're kind of looking to make a change, or you're kind of looking to do something different, I don't think there's anything wrong with kind of putting feelers out there and really getting people kind of excited essentially about what is to come. And I don't think there's anything, again, wrong with having a reboot, having a rebrand. I think there's also something really kind of relatable about being honest about the simple fact that you're having to go through this. And the simple fact that I'm also seeing as well too is that no one knows what to expect, which is always really good. You can never really fully know what to expect with the Kardashians. And I think, again, as a beauty brand, one of your biggest things is to always keep innovating, always keeping people on their toes. And if you're not specifically doing that, it can kind of feel like you're kind of dead in the water a little bit. And obviously there's a lot of things going on. Obviously there's a lot of things, that are in, happening in life and love and marriage and all that good stuff. But I think the thing that also just stands out to me, again, if you're listening and you have a beauty brand, is don't be afraid to pivot. Don't be afraid to relaunch and reboot and come out with something different. And also just don't be afraid of at least talking about it with people, because I think her even having, like, I Googled KKW reboot, and it kind of feels like the same, like, news article, like everyone's kind of pulling from the same thing. Definitely kind of like a, I want to say like essentially a press release of what's currently happening. And it kind of feels like the simple fact that they're even like talking about this, you know what I mean? Like, just goes to show you that she's ready to move on. Like, she's probably has something coming in like January or February, something that like lines up with some sort of like event or something like that. I mean, regardless, Kim could launch anything at any point in time and people would be excited, but it's like, what are you actually going to put out there? What are you going to launch that are going to get people excited about it as well too? And I'll also say this as well. As KKW Beauty is quote unquote temporarily shutting down, kind of the same thing that they kind of did with Kylie Cosmetics, because obviously things were kind of, kind of going, a little bit astray with like, deals and certain things like that as well too. I think there's so much to be said about you coming to terms with this change, you know what I mean? And the fact that it kind of gives off a vibe that she's going in a different direction. And of course, she sold a percentage of the beauty brand to Coty, again, the same brand that owns actually Kylie Cosmetics, for $200 million. Like, it seems to me that Kim is definitely going in her own route, and same to that as well too. Don't be afraid to go your own route. Don't be afraid to kind of bet on yourself in a way. Like, I think so much times we can kind of get stuck. We can kind of get stuck in the beauty world. We can kind of get stuck with what we have because we think, oh, that's the only thing that we're good for. We think it's the only thing that we have. But I think there's so much power in being able to just like be different and do things differently. And again, going back to that word pivot, which I feel like is like the word of 2020 and 2021. But I also think, again, keeping people on their toes is probably going to be one of the best things that you can do. And also don't be afraid of just like saying like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. Get ready, get excited for it. And I also don't think there's anything wrong with that, because it also just gets people excited. Like, I think we can all attest to the fact that the Kardashians are really great at marketing. I think we can all attest from that. Like, I always think about it till this day, how they were able to parlay a sex tape into being a multi-million-dollar brand, Kylie being a billionaire, quote unquote, Kim being a billionaire, quote unquote. And to me, it just like, it's a very interesting thing to kind of see how they were able to do that. But now, talk about the pivot. Talk about the ultimate pivot is parlaying a sex tape into being a multimillionaire, having a TV show, having beauty, having books, having clothing, having so many things, and have the world kind of look to you as a marketing genius or a quote unquote beauty icon. But I think for me, more so than anything, what I'm learning from this, and again, what I hope you look from this as well too, is that there's always power in the pivot. There's always power in the pivot. There's always power in rebranding and, coming into your own and really letting people know that you've got something exciting for them to look forward to. Because I'm sure when, again, KKW closed down in July, a lot of people were probably sad about it. I'm sure tons of people love the brand as well. I mean, again, like I said, the brand was always giving this kind of like, kind of simple, basic neutrals, nudes. Like, again, nothing really punchy. But I also, again, don't see this new brand that she has being that as well too. Like, if I'm being honest, I have a kind of feeling like it's going to be very similar to KKW Beauty. But I think what's going to be different is, again, it might be a little bit more quote unquote elegant, and it might be a little bit more maybe even high end. Who knows? And again, high end in the sense of like how a Chanel packaging looks, or how a Dior packaging looks, or like a Giorgio Armani, where it feels like you're holding this essentially like beauty artifact versus like a palette you'll get from Anastasia Beverly Hills, in which, again, nothing wrong with it, but you kind of like, you look at one piece of beauty product versus the other, and you kind of say to yourself, okay, like, I understand what this is. I want to have it on the vanity. I want to look at it. You know what I mean? Or like, I forgot which brand. I think it like might be from Tom Ford or something like that, where they have this like sparkling lipstick, and it's like absolutely stunning. And I see everybody on TikTok like going super duper crazy over it because it's just like, people are just so obsessed with beautiful, pretty, shiny things. But again, I can kind of see it kind of be something, who knows? It could be, I definitely see it kind of being something more so along that. But then again, that conversation of it being more accessible to people is always interesting. So of course, how elegant and over the top can you get if you're going to want to sell in an Ulta? But who knows? Maybe she might want to sell in a Walmart. I know a lot of brands recently that have been wanting to get into the Walmart space because of course Walmart is so accessible to everybody. And so I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I'm excited to see, again, the marketing rollout. I'm excited to see how she makes kind of the full announcement and gets everybody excited for it. I'm excited to kind of see the packaging. I'm excited to see how this is going to be very different from KKW Beauty, and what this actually means, again, for Kim kind of, taking reins in the beauty space now that, Kylie's out of the way, essentially. Because again, like I said, she was definitely dominating, and Kim was definitely like, okay, let me get into the, her, Kourtney, Khloe, they had a little of a beauty thing before, and I spoke about this as well too, Kardashian Beauty, and it didn't go so well. I think they had a whole bunch of legal drama and whatnot, but I definitely think this is a way for her to kind of get back into it, and I also think this is going to be a way for her to kind of, again, make her name in the beauty industry without the W. She's kicking out. She's like, I'm divorcing Kanye. There's no need to have a W anymore. I don't care how long the process takes. But even beside that, like, she's, creating the brand with a whole new name. And I definitely think this is a step in the right direction. And like I said, I'm just excited to kind of see the rollout. I'm excited to see how it all comes together. And I'm just really also just interested, to see how it really unfolds, because I know the Kim and Kimye, they are also going through, of course, their divorce. And of course, we're not going to talk about the Kim and Kanye divorce on the What's New in Beauty podcast too much, but I'm just very interested and also just intrigued how much Kanye had such a vital part in the actual process of KKW Beauty as a whole. But I don't know. I'm just all very interested to kind of see it come together. And as always, congrats to everybody involved. Congrats to Kim. Congrats to Kanye, who apparently is still kind of, in the mix of everything a little bit. But congrats for them, possibly looking like they're going to divorce on amicable terms, I guess. I don't know. It's messy. We don't do messy. I'm just here for the beauty, and I'm just very excited to see it all come together. So without further ado, y'all, thank you so much for joining me for another episode of What's New in Beauty, and I cannot wait to catch you in the next one.